Mercedes. For generations, it's been the benchmark for people around the world. Rev has a rendezvous with the old and the new world. A class of vehicle that embodies the spirit of the era in which it was made, and which continues to be a source of inspiration for car designers, manufacturers, and enthusiasts. The Mercedes-Benz E-Class, which in 3 decades has achieved massive success worldwide, especially in the Arab car market. What's the secret to this success? Today we're in Vienna to experience one of the latest and most powerful models in this category. We're taking the E400 E4matic for a test drive and trying to see how good the car is. Mercedes, a German car brand with over 100 years of heritage. The vehicle that bears the 3-pointed star is the very epitome of indestructible. And the E-Class is beloved all around the world. Which of us doesn't know the famed Mercedes 3-pointed star? The very same star that finds itself on the grille of this special car, the E400 E4matic. The star is a symbol of strength, of longevity, and also a symbol of trust in the car itself, even after countless kilometers. And it's especially loved in the Arab world.
This is my treasure. The engine is very old. Definitely at least 40 years old. But it runs. My name is Mohammed Berberon. I've been driving taxis in Kimiseh since 1954. The best and most expensive taxi I've ever driven was the Mercedes 250.
If I'm entirely honest, I've never driven a Mercedes before. It's exciting that my first experience driving one is in a new country, in new territory, and in the newest Mercedes model. It also means that this very exciting experience takes me straight onto the Autobahn. And after driving on the Autobahn from Vienna, here we enter the countryside. The car works smoothly and safely, with the tech giving me precise warning signals in all curves and streets, no matter how narrow they may be. As I said, we're in Vienna and around Lake Neusiedl. And it's summer, midsummer, and we had a very, very hot test day, almost Arab conditions. Maybe we shouldn't have switched off the air conditioning in favor of engine noise, because the AC actually works really well. The sweat pouring off my forehead is probably clearly visible in this picture, but as always, while filming reports, we're at the mercy of the camera. So let's venture across some near uncharted territory to get a better idea of this E-Class hybrid. And of course, let's have fun driving it. Woo-hoo! Miles of cornfields surrounded by monstrous windmills. While test driving this car, I was in awe of the landscape we drove through. Landscape where greenery meets technology and clean engineering. Something that's reflected in the car itself, which also produces clean energy and consumes it in a bid to be more environmentally friendly. Can you imagine this landscape in your country too? Let us know in the comments. This plug-in hybrid Mercedes achieves a range of around 100 kilometers with its electric motor, without having to switch to its 2-liter combustion engine. But more on that later. Sitting in this car for the first time brought back memories of my early childhood and youth, and how my friends and I would vie to sit next to the driver, as if it was some sort of honor or privilege. But it seems that childhood dream is coming true, albeit a bit late. And this time I'm right behind the wheel of this very luxurious car. This car has awoken many memories in me, especially memories of my childhood. Memories of my grandfather, of when he would take me on trips as a small child while visiting his friends. He often took taxis to commute, and they were often this same category of car. I also remember many trips on board this vehicle with friends and fellow students from the region where I grew up, specifically trips in the middle class or the E-Class from Mercedes. And I'm sure millions of people around the world feel the same way I do. Mercedes is a global phenomenon. The E-Class alone has sold over 16 million units since 1947. This makes this model series the most successful Mercedes of all time. What's the secret to this monumental success?
The secret of our success is that we have reinvented ourselves again and again, with which we cover a large number of different customers. Whether they want something sporty or elegant or modern, they find what they want in the E-Class.
How does Mercedes want to position itself in the Arab market? As a sustainable brand, as a luxury-oriented brand, or a manufacturer of strong engines?
Now in 2023, we'll have a car on the market that will have everything from a 4-cylinder petrol and diesel, a 6-cylinder petrol and diesel. We will also have hybrid plug-ins, and I also think maybe it could be something for the Arab region, a bridge at some point into the electric world, for example, this plug-in hybrid.
This car that I'm driving today can be charged. Of course, it can be refueled with regular fuel on the right-hand side, but it can also be charged with electricity from fast-charging stations using this port on the left side. In Europe, or in the Arab region, or in areas where there are no fast-charging stations, this household adapter can also be used to charge the car at home. Of course, digital communication is also important. The Mercedes-Benz user interface is intuitive, but sometimes overwhelming, with every conceivable app on it and 27 languages on offer. Hello, Mercedes.
Yes, please.
What's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's sunny with a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius.
Thanks, Mercedes. Thanks, Mercedes. Thanks, Mercedes.
No thanks needed.
Well, our weather expert is pretty chatty. Hello, Mercedes. What Arabic dialects can you speak?
I love the German national team, even though I used to prefer sportswear.
Okay, clearly there's room for improvement, but what's the navigation system like? How far away is Jerusalem, Mercedes?
Route guidance is not yet activated.
Thanks, Mercedes.
That's just normal.
Well, okay then. At least it was fun to try it out. Naturally, we don't really want to drive all the way to Jerusalem. Instead, we want to really go deeper into the E400's driving dynamics and put its quality and tech under the microscope. What's great is that the rear wheels also turn along with the front wheels, thanks to Mercedes' rear axle steering. At low speeds up to 4.5 degrees, and at higher speeds they move up to 2.5 degrees. People who haven't tried this out yet will be very impressed with the system, as was the case with me. Agility and comfort. The rear axle steering is a Merc trademark. If I had to describe this car in 3 words, or accurately describe my first impression of it, I would say it's classy, sporty, and intelligent. And now for the older generation. The father, the grandfather, and the great-grandfather of the E-Class. A scene perhaps closer to heaven for old car lovers and procurers. This 170 marked the beginning of the production of the E-Class cars from the German carmaker. There are other cars, like this model, that have had great success around the world. But there's another model, this 114, which sold in record numbers in the Arab world. In fact, there are a few taxis in the Arab world that have managed to clock more than 1 million kilometers. Can you imagine? Of course, there are several models, but this model is especially important. It was with this model in the year 1993 that Mercedes officially used the E-Class name. And this model now is the latest E. Years of development heritage that culminate in this new 2024 model. And now we're going to test drive this powerful model for you, the Mercedes W124. A confession. I was a little worried when I'd been asked to try my hand at driving old machines, especially those without automatic transmissions. But this car, the W124, feels wonderful to drive and looks simply beautiful. It also looks just like the cars people my generation are used to. After just a few minutes behind the wheel, I have to say that for a machine built 30 years ago, it drives exactly like a modern car. So it's fair to say that it's ahead of its time. It's for this reason that I believe it achieved high levels of success around the world, including in Arab countries. Since driving the Classic is so much fun, I find myself asking whether the newer models also have what it takes to someday become classics.
I am convinced that it will continue to be successful in the future, and also that there will be classic vehicles in the future. But I think that the know-how that is needed will change. You need fewer people who are familiar with sheet metal work. You need someone who is familiar with software to be able to continue driving this vehicle as a classic.
If you had a choice between all of these cars that we see here, or the E-Class, what would be your pick?
I love all of our classics, and I would say I love each of them for different reasons. I love the rawness of this car. I love the elegance of the tail fin. I love the dark green color of the W114. If I were to drive one, I would say the Ponton, because it's like a mixture of a classic vintage car with a steering-mounted gear shift. For example, it requires attentive driving, and at the same time, you can cruise along without having to concentrate too much while in it. I would choose the Ponton.
And you'd choose it over the new 2024 model?
Well, you're speaking to the spokesperson for Mercedes-Benz Classics, so I will always choose a classic vehicle because I have an affinity to them. But I have also driven the new E-Class, and I have to say, it is an impressive vehicle, but my heart beats for the Classic.
As for the reason for the E's success, to me the answer is clear when I look at the pioneering mentality and foresight that prevailed at Mercedes back in the day. As for whether this success story can continue, it's hard for me to say, because Mercedes has begun to focus on elements of luxury and on luxury models, which I believe cater to a specific group of people.
بدأ يركز في هذه الطرازات المطروحة هذا العام على عناصر كالفخامة والموديلات الفارهة.
And when we think of the Arabian region, things are even more complicated, since it has a variety of terrain, is demanding, and the cost of a car plays a very significant role. And a lot of these models are priced upwards of 55,000 euros. Although I personally think the success story will continue,
أعتقد
What do you
أن
think?
مسيرة النجاح تستطيع
Let us know in the
ولكن
comments.
بشكل جزئي. هذا رأيي الشخصي. ماذا تعتقدون؟ اكتبوا لنا في التعليقات.
And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.